Welcome back, everybody. Phil Mendoza with Alpha Bowhunting. Welcome back to another DBAP show. So for those of you who have not caught the first two DBAP show episodes, I encourage you to go back, listen in a little bit there. Really trying to just break down some truths, eliminate some misconceptions, and hopefully help you become a better bow hunter in the process. Today's show, what we're going to be talking about is exactly that. I mean, as we get close to season, as this episode is initially launching, either some of you have already started your big game seasons for the fall of 2021. Others are within a week to multiple weeks of boots on the ground season starting. And you know, one of the things that, as I bring you back a little bit to the first episode, really get focusing on that 80% to 90% of archery between the ears. This is one of those, again, philosophies or opinions, if you will, on my side as to what could make or break the difference between being successful. And we can go down a rabbit hole of what is success and everything else. That's not for this video. What I want to talk on this episode really becomes, when you think about, you know, what happens in the field from year to year, be it whitetail hunting out of a tree stand, be it, you know, antelope hunting with maybe hopefully multiple or many stalks. Usually the ratio is antelope win most of the time on those stalks, or if it's elk hunting or mule deer hunting, whatever it is, as you start to break it down and start to evaluate, man, if I would have just did this different here, or if I'd have done that different there, and you start to figure that out, it's like, how much better overall did you really have to be to be successful? And the same applies when we talk about our Alpha Bow Hunting challenges. You know, a lot of people, I'll talk to them after the fact, and the way that we have the event set up, it's awesome, it's high energy, it's fun, but it's frustrating for some because they know that potentially they were the better shooter in that heat, and they made one mistake, and the other person didn't make any mistakes or made less mistakes, and were able to move on in the bracket, and you know, depending on where they finished up. But as I talk to some of those competitors, I'm like, you know, you were that close, right? They're like, oh man, I almost had it. And I start to say, how much better do you think you have to be to really be successful, or to have made it through, pushed through in that situation? And in most cases, we're talking about maybe 5% better overall as a shooter, as a hunter, the whole package, all your abilities. Maybe it's 10%. But in most cases, it's not very much. We're not looking at your overall abilities and blowing holes through it as to, oh, you suck, you got to completely fix yourself or change or remold yourself. That's not usually the case. The case is usually small decisions that you make, incremental improvements that need to be made, and success will soon follow. And one of the things that I've read multiple times with different books, audio books, is when you start to analyze certain things that can help you become more successful, or studies that have been done that prove by, and this is something, like I said, I've read this in I think 2 or 3 articles and heard it on multiple different audio books. The percentage is not the same, but the result is the same. And what it comes down to is, if you, looking at like goals, for example, if you write down your goals, you're 20 to 43% more likely for those to come true. All this is the same that can apply to archery and bow hunting and events, whatever the case is. And so when you look at how simple really fixes can be, you know, this is something where I put together a shooting journal, shooting log course on alphabowhunting.com under the coaching tab. You can go there and look at it. And when I started to do this myself as a competing archer, and I was basically, what I was doing was I was taking the time to analyze how that practice session, how that tournament went. 3-4 minutes is all it really took. Write down what I did well, what I needed to do better, and what my goal was. And once I started to pick that back up, I'd look at it, take 30 seconds to read it before the next practice session. Oh, I did this well last time. I need to work on this, so I'm going to focus on that first, and this is what my goal is. Okay, so you're reinforcing what you're looking to do, what your improvements need to be, And like I said, everybody wants to just depend on a phone and an app, and up here in the simplest, again, the non-sexy, we talked about this, the monotony in the first episode. It's the non-sexy things that are, there's no glamour, there's no, you write something down on a sheet. I guess you could take a picture and post it on social media if that's what you wanted to do to try to get some, recognition. But this is one of those things that you got to do for yourself, and you got to do for the improvement of what your overall goals are. But again, this is one of those things mentally, and has nothing to do with archery, has nothing to do with bow hunting. It has to do with how you look at things, how your mind perceives things, and how you start to incorporate the extras, those extra qualities that the intangibles you hear people say all the time in sports, right? Oh, they got all the intangibles. Well, this is one of those things that you start to stack one or two or three of these little intangibles, these extra things on your side. Whether you believe in the hoopla of whatever the mental side of this stuff is, I think that you ask anybody about bow hunting or about archery, and they're going to say 80 to 90% of it's between your ears. So let's take a step back. Let's utilize other things that are applied in other industries and other places of our life and our world, and implement that into what we do for hunting, tournament archery, getting prepared for any of those. And let's see if that can help us become that extra 3, 5, 8, 10% better overall when we're actually competing or in the field, and see how it turns out. Because I feel it's as simple as that. Because again, if you're reinforcing by writing it down, even if you only shoot 3 times a week, but if you're actually visually acknowledging and reading and reinforcing as you go, you're starting to have intention with your practice session as to what you need to work on. And it becomes very much focused that way as to, this is my goal, and I know I need to work on this to be able to achieve that goal, and that's what you do, because it's fresh in your mind, and it's what comes about. So, a little shorter topic on this video. These little kind of mental hacks, if you will, or implementations, I will say, more so, from other studies, fields, industries, and put it into your toolbox, your toolkit, if you will, as a bow hunter. Everything that is out there. If there's some resource or some tool to utilize, I feel like you should consider it or use it. It's the same thing with the topic of kinetic energy to momentum. People say, kinetic energy doesn't mean anything. No, it's a method of measurement that utilizes math, and it's very black and white. Well, maybe don't base everything on your bow hunting system around kinetic energy, but you need to consider it, right? It's one of those. It's a piece of data that's important to the whole equation, just as momentum is, just as speed is, just as front of center, if you want to consider that, point weight. All these other factors as you look at a build or something else, they're all important, they're all valuable, just as these other types of mental implementations are valuable and important. And again, this is some of the stuff that's really, I feel, is not sexy, because this is some of the stuff that I've been harping on for years. And when I'm talking with a small group of people or individually on a coaching lesson, this is very practical and very easily to implement and see the results of. But when you're talking to the masses, like I said, if I'm not talking about, hey, this is my arrow build, and these are the components and XYZ, that's what gets all the sex appeal right now. And I really feel that we're missing the boat on what we can do, I should say, to help us become better archers, and then reinforce these principles to the younger generation coming up behind us. So that's all I've got on this one. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Like I said, I'm going to keep them short, hopefully in that 10 to 15 minute range, as I used to do back in the day with the Championship Bowhunting podcast. Little bits of information, little nuggets. You're going to be able, if you're watching this obviously on YouTube, we also have it on Podbean. It should be up on Stitcher as well. I'm going to be going through the process after I load a handful more videos of trying to get it back up on iTunes, and trying to reintroduce that podcast to that platform. It takes a little while with some of that, but anyway, share it with a friend. Let people know about it. Comment below if you're on the YouTube side. Let us know what you think. Any other topics that you want to be addressed. And like I said, I'm not an expert in the field of psychology or sociology or any of these, anything like that. I'm just talking from a standpoint of things that I've implemented myself, things that I've had other friends and or students and or customers implement, and we've talked about and we've worked through. It's just kind of this is very opinion based, and take it as you will. But at the same token, I've been able to see direct success with what I've done by just implementing little things like this. So we'll see you guys on the next one. I don't got a really catchy tagline as far as what we're doing on the closeout yet, but we'll come up with one. So if you got something that you might throw my way as well, love to implement. I'm always here to learn. Ears are always open. So we'll see you guys all soon.